Hello, everybody, and welcome to Riftbound Ramblings. I'm your host, Barrett, and today we continue our journey on the up and up as we dig deeper into our minds, you might say, to catch up on the mind domain reveals that were given to us earlier this week. Still playing a lot of catch up, of course, but we got a ton more cards to get through and to get even more excited for Riftbound Set 1 Origins. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we got Sprite Call, which is a 3 energy spell. You can hide it away, or you can play it as an action. And it says play a ready 3 might sprite unit token with temporary, which means you kill it at the start of its controller's beginning phase before scoring. The only thing I like about this card, the two things I like about this card. One, Teemo gets to play it for 1 energy instead of a power. And 2, it is a 3-cost spell that plays a readied unit onto your base. Like, no matter what, right? Which means you can swing with it, right? Like that's like the low bearing fruit, but I think regardless, I'm not really a fan of this one. I don't see the vision. I If it stuck around after the scoring phase to help you defend a battlefield, I would bump this up. But the fact is like you trigger this hidden during the showdown, and like you you lose the like your opponent is just going to assign all the damage to not the sprite, even if they lose the battle, and you lose the sprite at the beginning of your turn. So you don't score and you don't have the battlefield. Yes, the battlefield's still open for you to get, but like you have to go and do it again. And I just don't know if I like this one. And I don't see the vision. Someone's got to prove me wrong. I don't get it. But I gave it a bronze rating. Moving on, we've got Stupefy, which is a 1 energy spell that you can play anytime. And it gives a unit -1 might this turn to a minimum of 1 might. And then you draw a card. Now, based off of what we've seen in other domains about like what the equivalence of drawing a card is, so no matter what this replaces itself, normally that's for 2 energy, and you either can potentially draw 2, or you like get a unit with it, or you give +2 might to your guy. I think for -1 might reaction spell, I think this is a challenger level card. I think the fact that this replaces itself for 1 energy, I think is perfect. I think this is very good, and it just makes your deck smaller, so it feels nice. Watchful Sentry is a 2 energy 1 might Freljord unit that says Death Knell, draw 1 card, which says when it dies, you draw a card. And based off of like what I just said on the last card, I'm gonna give this one a challenger rating as well. I mean, pretty simple to it. This card is very good in Legends of Runeterra. I can't imagine it being any worse in the physical card game, except for now there's a unit attached to it, which means you can early on in the game for 2 energy. Going second, you get to play this on turn 1. Like, I think that's totally good. I think that's very fair. I think this card's going to be in a lot of decks. I think it's very nice. Moving on, we've got the Blast Cone Fae. For 2 energy and a power, you get a 2 might Bandle City Fae unit that you can hide it instead, so you still have to pay that power, but it means when you flip it over, you don't have to pay the extra 2 energy. But when you play me, give a unit -2 might this turn to a minimum of -1 might. I'll be honest, my only saving grace for this is that in Teemo decks, you get to play this for the 1 power. But I gave it a gold rating, and that's the only because of the Teemo thing. Because the fact that this is a 2 energy, 1 power, 2 might unit with an on-play effect, I don't know if that's good enough. I really don't. Like, I only see Teemo decks maybe playing this, and even then, I don't know how successful it's going to be, because you already have the Teemos doing the trick. Moving on, we've got the Ravenbloom Student, which is 2 energy for a 2 might Noxus unit. That says whenever you play a spell, give me +1 might this turn. Obviously, that's repeatable. Depending on how many spells you play in a turn, It can ramp up and up and up. And we know that characters and legends like Kaisa want to play a lot of spells, or they get to play spells relatively easily. I think this one has potential. I don't know of enough spells for this to be really good right now, but like it does synergize with things like Stupefy that we just saw. I think it's can find spots in the spell slinging decks for sure. And so with that, I'm going to give it a diamond, and I think this card can see play in some spots. Moving on, we've also got Promising Future, which is a 5 energy, 1 power spell that says each player looks at the top 5 cards of their main deck, chooses one of those cards, recycles the rest, so you put them on the bottom of your deck, starting with the next player. Each player plays those cards, ignoring energy costs, but you must still pay the power cost. So this is a rare, and it has really, I think this card's very fun. In the 4-player, version of the game, I think this card's going to be very, very fun and interesting. In competitive slash 1v1, I think it has the potential to be very good, but the cards in your deck, or the top 5 cards in your deck, must be so much better than your opponent's, or it's something that like really, really carries the weight of what it could do. The fact that this costs a power, and then you also still have to pay the power of the next thing, it just makes me feel like it's not the greatest, but I do think it has potential to go up. So I'm gonna give it gold. I mean, the fact that this could play a 12 drop, like this could play a 12 drop. That's good enough probably, assuming that your opponents don't hit something as crazy broken as well. Moving on, we've got Wraith of Echoes for 6 energy and a power. It's a 5 might Shadow Isle Spirit unit. That says the first time a friendly unit dies each turn, draw 1 card. This is like the first higher energy costed unit in Mind that I think is quite good. And I'm hoping with all the like Death Knell stuff that we've seen at least, and cards like this with big Shadow Isles, I hope that there's going to be even more synergies with a card like this, but even without having seen those, I think this card's very good. I think the repeatable draw is going to be really nice for the spell slinging decks as long as you can keep some units on the board. I think this is very, very good for like the Victor decks that are making a bunch of tokens. I think this is going to be very good. I honestly would probably even give it a higher rating than Diamond, but I'm being a little safe because so far I'm kind of a little unimpressed with Mind right now. But this card is a reason why I would for sure like synergize a lot of things with it. Next up, we've got the Seal of Insight, which of course is the gear seal for Mind. And of course, as you kind of already know my opinions on these kinds of cards, especially with ones like this that synergize with Kaisa and the spell slinging decks, I do think these are going to be very top tier. I think they're going to be quite competitive. So I'm going to go ahead and give it the Challenger rating, just like I've already given all the other seals as well. Next up, we've got the Unchecked Power, and if you've played in the Victor uh, demo experience or the trial deck, this is essentially the board wipe that exists in the game. It's in Mind. It costs 7 energy and 2 power. You have to exhaust or tap all of your units, and then you deal 12 damage to all units at battlefields. So not in your base, not in your opponent's bases, only in the battlefields. And because you tapped all your units, you also can't go take those battlefields. So this card can be quite polarizing. I think this card is either incredibly good when your opponents send all their units at battlefields and are really trying to push for the end of the game, and then sometimes when your opponents play pretty conservatively or they had really, really like quick move tricks, things like Yasuo, this card can feel really rough. So I do think it's good because it's a board wipe. I think board wipes are going to exist and feel powerful in any sort of game. It's just really hard for me to like feel like I understand that Mind is meant to be like the control style domain, but I think the rest of the domain needs a lot of extra help before cards like this go up in my head, even though it exists here. Moving on, we've got a reveal that actually happened today from Alex Simo, who's a content creator for Yu-Gi-Oh! Mushroom Pouch, which is a 2 energy gear that says at the start of your beginning phase, if you control a face-down card at a battlefield, draw 1 card. Face-down cards obviously meaning hidden cards that you've put there. And that means that you have to have made it back to your turn with that hidden card still there, which means you still have control of that battlefield. Which means I think this is only going to really be good in Teemo decks. But in those decks, I think there's going to be so many hidden cards, and they're going to be impactful enough to scare people away. I think this card's going to be quite good. Specifically, obviously, in the hidden style decks, maybe even specifically just in Teemo. But, like, this repeatable draw engine for that kind of deck is going to feel really good. Moving on, we have even more reveals that came out today from GameSpot.com. We have the Mind Champion unit, Heimerdinger. For 3 energy and 1 power, you get a 3 might Piltover Yordle Heimerdinger unit that says, I have all exhaust abilities of all friendly legends, units, and gear. Okay, I know that's only one sentence, but there's a lot to dissect here. So first of all, 3 cost unit with a power, very good. 3 might to come with it, on par. That's good. That's good. That's good. All exhaust abilities of friendly legends, units, and gears. So I went ahead and kind of picked quite a few of these to talk about. Okay, so low hanging fruit in any blue deck, which is where you can play, or sorry, any mind deck that you can play Heimerdinger in, you obviously get the seals. And it pairs incredibly well if you picked a legend for your deck to also be a legend that has an exhaust ability. So I grabbed Kaisa here. The same thing can be said here with Victor, but the idea here is you get to double up. I'll go back to the Kaisa example. This Kaisa I think is going to be quite good. Heimerdinger is going to be really good with Kaisa because you've essentially, as soon as Heimerdinger hits the board and a turn cycle comes through so that Heimerdinger readies, you get 2 exhaust abilities for spells, so Heimerdinger kind of functions as like another seal, right? Because then also because he gains the seal if you have a seal on board and you have Kaisa as your legend. He gets both. He has them all. He has all of the abilities, but because it's obviously an exhaust cost, you only get to use one of them a turn. But the idea here is that if you need to cast more things, you can or play more units that have power costs. Seal of Insights on the board with Heimerdinger says you don't have to recycle any of your runes. Once he already gets to a battlefield, if you already feel confident that you can defend it, it means that you can start playing hidden cards by just tapping Heimerdinger instead of attacking or trying to move him somewhere else, right? So like I think there's a lot of synergy. Same thing here with Victor. You can just use Heimerdinger as another way of accelerating more tokens onto the board, and I think that can be relevant. But like to me, again, this is low hanging fruit because all of these are pretty standard. Obviously, you can play him in Teemo. He's a Yordle. Teemo's a Yordle, even though he doesn't have the Yordle keyword. And Teemo's bottom ability says you can pay 1 and exhaust him, put a Teemo unit that you own into your hand from your champion zone or the board. So then when you go to play the Teemo, you have Heimerdinger as another backup way to get it back. There's also the Pack of Wonders, which exists in the Chaos domain, where you can tap it and return another friendly gear, unit, or hidden card to its owner's hand. So you don't have to play. In the future, when there's more Chaos Mind champ or legends to play as, you don't have to have Teemo. You can play as somebody else, and you still can play Pack of Wonders to basically have another kind of ability to bounce a thing. So like this is, again, not necessarily my favorite interaction, but this one works as well. And then you have probably where I think Heimerdinger, at least in the current state of reveals, is going to have the most success which is in an Ari deck. Ari being under Calm and Mind, although she herself doesn't have an exhaust ability on her, she gets access to characters like Lee Sin, which allow you to buff your Heimerdinger, which allows it to feel a lot better if you put it onto a battlefield and start going. But that's just me trying to compensate and make Lee Sin feel like a good legend and champion unit. But in the same Ari deck, you can also play the revealed champion unit Caitlyn that happened today, which says if Heimerdinger is on a battlefield, you can ping and deal your damage as might to another unit on a battlefield. So I think there's, in the same world that you would want to be playing Caitlyn in, as long as your legend has Mind, Heimerdinger kind of fits pretty well in that deck. As I've kind of already talked about in the Calm video, why I think Caitlyn and Lee Sin can be pretty good in the same kind of playstyle that Calm wants to be in. And again, if Ari is your legend, then you still get that static ability. You just don't get another ability for Heimerdinger to copy. And you still get to copy any of the seals that you're playing, the Calm ones or the Mime ones, of course. So, like, there's going to be plenty of cards that Heimerdinger can copy. So, these are just the ones from the time of recording on reveals that exist. So I'm going to give him a challenger because I think this guy has so much potential and can only go up. And I think that's, I mean, I hope you like Heimerdinger because I think he's going to be quite good. And then moving on for our last one today, we also were given the Mind Echo champion unit from GameSpot.com, who costs 5 energy, 1 power for 5 might echoes on champion unit. He has Accelerate, so if you pay 1 more and you recycle a rune, you can have him come in ready. And he says, Death Knell, recycle me to ready your runes. So when he dies, you get to put him on the bottom of your deck, which is great, by the way. Put him on the bottom of your deck and ready all of your runes. I think it's pretty easy to see that Echo is going to be very good. He's challenger level. He says ready all of your runes. But even on the turn that you can play him the fastest, the absolute fastest, you can just play him for 5. Let's say you're at 6 runes. You can pay the 5, pay the additional, accelerate him. Pay 6, and you bounce 1 after you've already bounced 1, right? So you're down to 4. You have 4 runes left because you paid double power, but now you get to attack with Echo. If your opponent has a 5 might guy or less, I'll say or less, but the ideal scenario here, I think, is if they have a 5 might guy at a battlefield, you get to attack with Echo into that battlefield, trade with that unit, so Echo would also die, and then you get to ready the other 4 runes and have a 10 rune turn. I think that's pretty good. I think that's so good for that being that one scenario, and then obviously Echo scales the longer the game goes at being able to potentially ready up to 10 or even 12 runes when he dies. I think that's pretty good. It comes with an accelerator on him. He already has 5 might. He's pretty on curve for most champion units. I can't give him anything but a challenger rating, and I think he only goes up from here. But that's going to be it for today. That we've caught up on all of the Calm cards and the Mind cards. And so with that, that's going to be the end for this video. I'm probably not going to put any more out today specifically, but I'm going to catch up on the rest of the 3 domains tomorrow before we get into even more reveals on Friday. So make sure you're always liking and commenting, and of course subscribe to the channel if you want to keep caught up with the updates and when those videos go live. But thanks so much for watching this one, and we'll see you again next time.